Hello, it's Michael Gray back with another coronavirus video. Bank pool coronavirus style. This is March 15th, 2020. And this is going to be tight up table, long rail, cross corner banks. But first, I'm going to just briefly go over some pictures and stuff from my pool career. All right, this is Earl. Earl taught me in 1991 at Racketeers in New Orleans how to play pool. Earl's specialty was a one pocket and bank pool. He played a bunch of people, Cliff Joyner, those kind of guys. I seen it, and I was young and impressionable. One of the things that he taught me was this mirror image. He taught me about the gutter rail along the line. I've spoke about this at length on other videos. I'm not going to here. And I'm not the only one that likes bank pool. Apparently, so does Budweiser. And I've been wanting this sign for like 20 years, and finally, the owners of Skeeters actually gave it to me about a month ago. So it's hanging up in my own pool room in my home. Thank you very much, Jen and Vernon. And this is a picture of me at Racketeers, New Orleans, about 1991. I was a bartender. I was a doorman there, also over at Sport Palace. That's another old picture here. Then there's a picture of me. This is probably playing at Skeeters or Jim Bob's in Biloxi, circa, I don't know, maybe 2005. The next one is me playing at Table Stakes in Denver, about 2010, and maybe Wingcoop Brewery is this last one here, probably about 2012. And then, let's see. This next picture is, I used to play in these tournaments, but I didn't actually play in the tournaments. I would try and get in action with the first or second or third guy that would get knocked out of the tournament. And I did that by putting this action sign on the table. And that actually worked quite well that day. I was able to lose a couple hundred, so that was nice. For a while, I lived in Kansas City, and I played at Shooters in Olathe, Kansas, and got a lot of action there. That was a great place to gamble if you could fade the cigarette smoke. Let's see, where was this? Oh, can't remember where this was. No big deal. That was actually my poker bankroll. My poker bankroll was always in action in poker and seldom in action in pool, actually. And this is probably when I was in Denver. This might be Mile High Billiards doing a What's in the Case. And then this is like a couple years later, back in Biloxi, also What's in the Case. Just a bunch of crap. There are some learning tools right at the bottom in the middle there. That's all of my notes and crap that I give pool lessons with. It's a picture of probably one of the biggest things that changed my game, because I had a tight-ass grip for about 20 or 30 years, and that fixed it. And then this is what I call the credit card line. People call it the edge of the ball, but when I teach, I use the credit card, so I call it the credit card line. Trademark. And then some of these next pictures here are in a video that I made explaining the credit card line and fractional ball aiming and center to edge and my understanding of it. And this picture here is what the YouTube video looks like if you search YouTube, and probably I believe that's still the title. I don't think I made any adjustments to the title. And some of these things are just different ways to see the same thing, which is basically the fraction of the cue ball against the object ball in the distance. So anyway, just thought I'd bring that up in this video, just because it it's pertinent to, I believe, a good pool to have an understanding of these different types of concepts. And next I'm going to talk about why I love bank pool. But before I do that, I'm going to show you this short video of why I love bank pool. $50 game bank pool. This motherfucker won't shoot at us whole. He's playing the air guitar. $50 a game. You must really like the song. So there you go. Now you understand. This should say how bank pool affects the brain. And it affects the brain with maximum dopamine hits. There are dopamine, serotonin. Every now and then you have a little serotonin. Every now and then you have just some love. And then every now and then you feel like Superman. And I think Adrian might have been feeling like Axl Rose. I don't know if Axl Rose actually played the guitar. I don't know. I'm not a music expert. I'm a bank pool expert, damn it. And these are some of my latest videos. This is basically the spot shot long rail. And then these are some of the different locations that you can actually hit that spot shot on the rail to make it, depending on your stroke and the way you hit it and the speed you hit it and all of that. The physics. And this is similar concepts on the cross-side short rail, and then also very similarly the cross-side, or actually cross-corner short rail. And then the last video I made that I put out about a week ago is this this cross-corner long rail here. So this is different adjustments that you have to make depending on how far you up the table. And these are different views of the same shot. And I thought all of these videos came out very well. Each one has different things to learn about as far as how to strike the cue ball, friction considerations, physics, aiming, the gutter line, all of these things, geometry. And we're going to talk a little bit more in this video. It's going to have some geometry as well as some physics. And the way that we're going to start is here, the geometry and adjustments, and we're going to use the little stickers on the table. So these stickers, as seen in some of my previous videos, I'm going to basically show you how I put them on the table, and I'm going to kind of narrate while I'm doing that because these shots come so quickly after this that I won't be able to talk much about the physics. So basically, I can go ahead and start. If you see, the one ball is at the 1 diamond, the 2 is at the 1.5, the 3 is at the 2 diamond, and the 4 is at the 2.5, and then the 5 is at the 3 diamond. So each one is a half diamond up after the first diamond. So basically what I'm going to do here is on the rail, using the gutter line, I'm going, and the diamond that corresponds to that point on the gutter line. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I talk more about that in the last long rail bank pool video, as well as the cross-side video. So anyway, so I put a little dot on the table so that way the viewer can see it on the video, because sometimes it's hard to see the one on the table because the base of the ball is actually, the ball is sitting on that. So I put another one on the rail right up top just so that you can kind of see exactly where in that where it's going to be 2.5. And then this 5 ball is at 3. And then I'm going to put one at the base of the ball on the gutter line. So the similarly colored stripe ball is going to be exactly half the diamond length on the bottom rail. So if the 1 ball is on 1, then the 9 is going to be at 0.5. One way to see exactly where the 0 spot would be is you can see where the gutter lines would connect if they extended to each other right there. Boom. So that's going to be 0 right where I put that. It's actually kind of like in the middle of the pocket. And so this 10 ball is going to be at the number 1 diamond, which is going to correspond, or actually 0.75 rather, sorry. And it's going to correspond with the 2 that's on the 1.5. The 3 ball, which is on the 2nd diamond, is going to correspond with the 11, which will be on the 1 diamond. So basically what you have is kind of like a triangle here, where the length is twice as long as the base. And this is how you determine the line for this far up table long rail cross corner bank. And it is nearly perfect, nearly. What you have to do is your cue ball actually has to be, in this case, it needs to be on the left-hand side of that line, just a tiny bit, just a fraction. So if you shoot it exactly on that line, then you're going to hit the short rail up table. So you have to take your cue ball, in this instance, a tiny, tiny bit to the left. And when you try this at home, it's safe, don't worry. When you try it at home, you'll realize exactly how much of an adjustment you have to make off of that line. So one thing that you can do is you can put the tip of your cue on this spot right here where the base of the ball would be, and then you can see further down on the handle or down the shaft on the lower part of your cue, it's going to hover over the spot that's on the table on the gutter line on the base of the ball here. So here you go. And it's kind of hard to see that all of these are actually perfect. It's kind of like a video mirage or just looks a little different from the video camera over it, but actually each one they're perfectly straight. There's no, so that's 0.5, 0.75, 1, 1.25, and 1.5. That's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, and 3. So the length is twice as long as the base. And we're going from the base of the 1 ball to the base of the 9 ball, or that spot on the gutter line on the long rail and the short rail. So what you can do is you can take your cue like this and go straight over the center of the 1, or you can go like straight over the 2 and over the 10, straight over the 3 and over the 11, straight over the 4 and 12, and anywhere along that line, you just need to be a tiny bit on the left-hand side of it, tiny bit towards the middle of the table. So of course, if you were on the other side of the table, you're going to be, it's going to be the direct opposite. And here's a proof. Bunch of pleasures of small motions. Boom, there you go. So I'm not shooting this excessively hard. I'm shooting it at the same speed that I shoot most banks, at about a 70. And it's just center English and a tiny bit of draw to reduce the friction between the cue ball and, in this case, the 3, because especially since it's so close to the rail, you have to really give it a good stroke so that the balls aren't like sticking and grabbing together for too long. So here you can see I can remove the 10. I can put the 1 on that spot, and just anywhere along that line, and you can see I moved it out maybe just a fraction of an inch, maybe a quarter of an inch to the left. There you go. And I hit it like a little bitch on that one. Let's see if I ever make this. Some of these, the way I figure this out is I shot this shot for about 5 hours one night. There you go. And figured out how to make the adjustment, the type of stroke that I had to put on it, and to see whether or not, it's kind of counterintuitive that you actually have to make the adjustment with the cue ball to the left. And I think a lot of that is just because of that ball being on the rail. But this shot comes up a lot, especially in one pocket. And if you can figure out how to get that ball closest to that hole, then that's kind of super important, you know. And obviously, if you're going to hit the ball a little bit slower, then you'd probably want your cue ball a little bit more to the left of that line. So instead of maybe a quarter inch, maybe you'd want to be maybe like a half inch to the left of the actual line that bisects the 1 and the 9, or whichever ball that corresponds. And I think it's possible somewhere later in this video I might make a couple of shots at a slower speed. I can't remember offhand. I'll just keep talking here. So basically what I did there is I removed the ball at 0.75, and now I'm shooting the ball at 1.5. Center ball. Same thing. Just keep grinding up. And, you know, this is definitely not the to-go-to shot. I prefer to not have to shoot this shot, but it's good to have it in your arsenal. It's good to have some ideas of rationales of why it is you're doing what you're doing, instead of just always hoping that your feel and your memory is going to be correct on certain things, and you're going to, you know, because a lot of these shots don't come up very often. So if you have just a baseline simple, you know, this is very simple math here. It's just like the table is twice as long as it is wide, right? So this triangle is twice as long as it is the base is wide. So it's basically just kind of the dimensions of the table. Now that doesn't work all the way up the table, but it works up to about this point right here. And then a little bit as you get closer up the table, you have to maybe adjust a tiny bit more to the left, a tiny bit more out. So the closer you get to this, to the bottom pocket, to the 1 ball and the 2 ball, is going to be more pure to the actual angle. And then the further you get up the table, you may have to make an incremental adjustment more towards the left-hand side of that line. But it's very, very small, very, very small adjustments. It's actually quite surprising how accurate this shot is once you get the speed and the stroke down. So what you want to do is you just want to have the most consistent processes and the most consistent type of stroke, the most, you know, you don't want to be hitting this ball with left-hand English one time and right-hand English the next time, and shooting it at 50 speed one time and 95 speed the next. You need to figure out a way to learn how to hit these balls at pretty consistent speeds, and that way you can figure out why you missed. You know, what happened on that one? Why did I miss on that one? The reason I missed it is because I adjusted my cue ball out too far to the left, and it went tight. So that means that, you know, it's pretty close to the actual angle. And if you adjust maybe a quarter of an inch out to the left, that may be correct. But if you do a half an inch, you're going to miss it you're gonna miss it. Maybe a whole diamond up table on that long rail. So, okay, so these are some to see what the adjustment is if I'm going to be shooting it softly. So we can see there that that when you're shooting it softly, it's better to actually, on this one, you're going to be shooting it more on that exact angle. So the softer you hit it, the less of an adjustment you have to make to the outside of the line, to the outside of the hypotenuse, I guess it would be. So, and this is more like the one pocket type speed, where you're going to be occasionally your opponent scratches, you get ball in hand behind the line, and you get a shot like this. And if you can figure out how to really be super accurate on this shot, it's going to put you at even that. Like, let's say we're playing one pocket, and I miss. A lot of times, if you're going to miss it one way or the other, you want to be able to know, am I going to be missing it short or long? And in that case, I missed it long, I missed it on the short rail, and then it came back up table and might have left my opponent a bank. So that way you can make a little bit of an adjustment. Say, okay, well, this is the 2-to-1 ratio here. So this is at 1.5 and 1.25. I mean 2.5 and 1.25 on the rail. So you may want to, if you're trying to hit the long rail first, then you may want to take your cue ball out a little bit more to the left, if it's really important that that you don't leave that bank over to your opponent's hole. And this is 3 and 1.5. Boom. Very simple, very repeatable, and that's the point. And thanks for watching. Watch my other videos, please. YouTube, email me, GoneGray, GONEGRAY @gmail.com if you have any questions. GoneGray@gmail.com. All right. And this is my friend Jarius. We play some bank pool and some one pocket sometimes. And I think we might have been playing one pocket this day. And watch how good this shot is. Love it. I love it. Thanks for Jarius, man. You're the nuts. I miss you. All right, bro. Bye.
I already told you the jump kit, but you got to use the right tool,